In this video, I will show how to use the TVI sequences. I will go through sequences, tests, and test parameters. These will be the main three functions that we will use. But let's first see what we have in the main screen of the TVI and how it's related to the sequences we want to use. And I'll start from the left to the right. On the left we have a filter which allows us to see sequences belong to specific program. Now that I selected Pioneer N, we don't have any sequences there. I'll go to the filter, select Pioneer and Ranger. Most of the sequences that we have were written under the product Pioneer. As you can also see here on the drop-down box, we have a list of sequences that we already made. Here a tower, and we've used. You can see all the list here, and these are the sequences. Each sequence I select here, you can see how it looks on the right side. This button here is for the sequence editor. Click here and you go into the sequence editor. You can also go to the sequence editor from the top menu. Here we have the run button. Execute the sequence that is specified here on the left. Stop or pause. Now let's go to the editor, sequence editor. On the top we have save button, save as, if we want to create a new sequence, or if we want to rename, delete. That's on the left side. It will apply to any sequence that we select from the drop-down box. Note that we also have a filter here, same one that we saw here on the main screen. If I select Pioneer, you can see that most of the, or it's not most, all the sequences were written under the Pioneer product. On the left side, we have a step type. These are a list of functions we can, or operations we can do, we can use in a sequence. Using the add or remove button, we can select which function we want to use here. Select a sequence or a loop, message box, add, and it will move. Let's show an example. If I just click on the add button here, you see that opens a box that I need to list the name of this test. And if I click OK, you can see how it goes here. I can move it down or up. I can remove it. On this window below, we can see a list of errors. If we have some kind of errors in the sequence, they will appear here. I can save, but if I want to exit, it will flag that we have an error in this sequence. Now I can either close the window and exit the editor, or choose to fix it, and we can see what is the error and fix it here. I'm going to use terminology of three main phrases or words: tests, test parameters, and sequences. This whole loop here, this whole list of lines is a sequence, and you can see sequence select, and everything here is referred to as the whole sequence. Let's talk about tests. Tests are equivalent to commands or functions. These elements are predefined by the vendor, not by us, by the user, and as such they are located in the developer files. Let's go to the developer files. Let's go to the TestView Integrator directory, tester files, developer files, and you can see under the folder tests we have a list of predefined functions that we will be using in our sequence. And you can see the whole list: image analysis, set variable name, temp control, light control, and we'll see them later on when you use this test. So those are called tests. And I want to use, as an example, I want to use the file responsivity with tech Pioneer N. I will refer to this sequence in all the examples that I'll show. Sequences is equivalent to a test program. This is a test program which we, the users, we create. Either we create it from scratch or from a ready-made sample that we have here. Now, sequences will be located again under Test View Integrator, tester files, not under developer but under product files. You see the folder here, sequences, and you can see all the list of sequences that we saw on the in the drop-down box will appear here under the product files. Now, test parameters are the equivalent of using a function, as we named it before as test, with specific purpose and parameters. Say, for example, tech 30 degrees, light 50%, for example here, set FPA, test parameters 30 and 40, 30 and 60 loop. That's a test parameter name. Inside there is a specific values that are associated with this configuration name. Another example, green light sweep 0 to 100. The test parameter called light sweep 0 to 100 of green, going into the specific parameters, and we see a list of numbers that are associated with this configuration name. We can save this, we can save as, or we can rename. So this is the test parameter. I would like to emphasize one thing that is very important. Test parameters are like global function. Global function meaning it's not just that you are able to use them in more than one sequence. Yes, we can use this test parameters in 2, 3, or any other sequences that we want. The thing is that if you change them in a specific sequence, it will also affect another sequence that uses this test parameter. Now, let's move and talk about a little bit on the structure of a sequence. So I'm using the responsivity with tech Pioneer N sequence as an example, and usually I divide the sequence to 3 main sections. Section 1, and let's do some annotation here. Section 1 I call the setup devices. Section 2, let's move it here and draw. Section 2 will be the body of the program, and section 3 I call it the shutdown of the devices. Now we'll go one by one to each of those examples. You can, as I said, you can copy and paste. Let's just remove the annotation. You can copy and paste a test. Right click, copy, right click, paste, or delete. You can move them up and down as we saw before. Now watch out for the errors in this window that usually occurs when I delete some of the functions that we use in another sequence. If I delete them and there is another sequence who uses them, it will appear as an error. Let's see, for example, in this sequence here, we can see that there is an error. Now, I can exit, close. I can close and exit here, and you can see now I can try to run this loop. If I click the run, you see that execution is aborted. And it says step kernel config file, Pioneer. There is a kernel file that I'm trying to load that it doesn't exist. So I need to go into this test and fix this. And if I go to kernel and I change, you can see the error disappear. I can save and exit.